Good at acting.
I love how they repeat that. You ain't good at acting.
It's such a sharp, almost cynical critique of how performative our daily lives have become.
It's like curating the perfect, aesthetically pleasing social media grid with inspirational quotes, while behind the camera, your actual living room is on fire and you're deeply miserable.
The artist is just entirely over the performance.
It is a direct challenge to the listener's own cognitive dissonance. To act is to wear a mask, to project an image of success or righteousness that doesn't align with your private reality.
By telling the audience, you ain't good at acting, the artist is stripping away that illusion.
They're saying the mask is slipping. I see through the fake life you are projecting, and more importantly, the divine sees through it.
They are demanding that legacy be built on concrete, lived actions rather than carefully managed public relations.
Right.
So what does this all mean? We've traced this incredibly rapid evolution from the ultimate ego trip, claimed to be the greatest ever, to a shocking spiritual revelation, to rejecting modern hustle culture, and finally calling out the fake, performative nature of society.
Where does it actually lead?
Because right here, there's a structural shift in the text that changes everything. The artist completely drops the word I.
They stop talking about themselves as this isolated prophet on a hill.
Suddenly, the language shifts entirely to we. It becomes a collective plea. They say, we need you, God. We need you now. The way that we act like we all don't need Jesus is the way that we really need him.
That shift to we is magnetic. It pulls you, me, and the entire culture right into the crosshairs of the song.
It really does.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that grammatical shift from the singular I to the collective we is the emotional anchor of the entire piece.
The artist has completely stepped off the pedestal they built in the first verse.
They've taken off the crown of their own merchandise, stepped down into the crowd, and recognized their shared vulnerability.
They aren't preaching down at you anymore. They're confessing alongside you.
And from that grounded collective perspective, they launch into a biting critique of our shared hypocrisy. The lyrics become incredibly pointed. We play with the devil, then go pray to Jesus, and we keep our sin all a secret.
That line is just brutally honest. It highlights the fragmented, compartmentalized way modern people live.
It's the reality of acting recklessly, selfishly, or destructively in the dark, and then putting on your Sunday best or your corporate smile and performing absolute piety in the light.
Keeping our sin all a secret is the ultimate form of the acting they were just criticizing moments ago.
It gets to the core of human hypocrisy, and they immediately tie that spiritual hypocrisy back to the material critique we discussed earlier.
They continue. We worship our money and stack up our pockets and act like we all doing something. But really, our something is turned into nothing.
This is an incredibly deep philosophical stance. It echoes ancient wisdom literature. The idea that building your entire identity around material accumulation is like chasing the wind.
We exhaust ourselves in this corporate rat race, convincing ourselves that stacking our pockets equates to building a meaningful legacy. We act like we are doing something vital.
But really, our something is turned into nothing.
It's like spending your entire life meticulously building a massive, intricate sandcastle, completely ignoring the fact that the tide is coming in.
You've convinced yourself you're an architect, but the ocean doesn't care.
And that realization that everything we stress over is ultimately temporary plunges the song into its darkest, most urgent section.
The climax of this track moves past the daily grind, past the secret sins, right up to the edge of the ultimate consequence.
The artist forces you to stare directly at the concept of eternity. They ask, but what are we going to do when we reach eternity? Then you reject us and say we got nothing to do with you. That whole time we've been praying to you. That whole time we're ignoring the truth.
This raises an important question, and it is the very question the artist uses to abruptly end the track.
The climax relies on one of the most chilling, sobering concepts found in theological literature.
The idea of ultimate rejection by the divine. The final refrain repeats the phrase, "Depart from me, I never knew you, man." Yeah, depart from me, I never knew you. Never know you. Never knew you.
Think about the incredible contrast here. The sheer distance this track has traveled in such a short time.
It's massive. We started this analysis looking at an artist who boasted about being the greatest since the day was born.
Someone who demanded absolute recognition, who crowned themselves, who was the undeniable center of their own universe.
But by the end of the track, all of that ego, all of that posturing is completely stripped away.
The ultimate terror for the artist, and the terror they are trying to impart to you, is the fear of facing the highest power in the universe and realizing that your entire life was a performance for an audience of no one.
The ultimate nightmare is hearing the words, "I never knew you."
It is a total, brutal ego death. The artist who started out bragging about their undeniable, inescapable presence is ultimately terrified of being completely unrecognized when it actually matters.
It is such an incredible arc. Let's just pause and recap the journey we just went on.
We started with an artist wearing their own merch, like a crown, claiming to be the sickest MC ever made, utilizing modern, relatable metaphors to prove their cultural relevance.
Then they drop a Hiroshima-level truth bomb, pivoting their entire mission to serving a higher calling.
They get incredibly frustrated that people are just bopping their heads to the beat without hearing the life-saving message hidden inside it.
From there, they completely reject the hustle culture of chasing the bag, call out the fake, curated acting of modern society, and shift from I to we.
Bringing all of us into a shared, vulnerable confession. And it ends with a collective group of people stripped of all their wealth and pretending, terrified of eternity, begging, God, we need you now, we need you now.
It is a profound textual journey that demands introspection. And as we wrap up this analysis, I want you to consider how these themes operate in your own life.
Where are you fiercely chasing the bread or the bag? Convinced that accumulating wealth or status is the same thing as accumulating purpose.
Where are you acting like you don't need any help while secretly drowning? Where is the disconnect in your own life between the curated performative self you project to the world and the reality of what you do behind closed doors when you are keeping your secrets?
The artist isn't just venting. They are challenging you to ensure that your carefully constructed something doesn't eventually turn into a devastating nothing.
That is a lot to chew on.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought to mull over as you go about your day. Think about that incredible arc from the opening brag to the final terror.
If the ultimate absolute dread expressed at the end of this song is the terror of being completely unknown by the divine, hearing the words, "Depart from me, I never knew you," how does that entirely reframe the artist's opening brag about being the greatest MC ever made?
Is the human drive for fame, for massive ego, for wearing a crown and demanding that people recognize how great you are, is all of that actually just a misplaced, desperate desire to be known and seen before our time runs out?
Maybe the loudest egos in the room are just the ones most terrified of being forgotten.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We warmly invite you to keep looking closer, to keep unpacking the text around you, and to keep questioning the messages hiding in plain sight. We will catch you next time.